There was a boy once. Not a broken boy, not a strange boy, just a boy. Let's call him Ben. People think kids are fragile. But that's not true. Kids are absorbent. They soak in everything, the love, the silence, the anger, the things adults pretend aren't happening. Ben was one of those kids. He started life like everyone else does, curious, soft, full of color. He used to ask questions about everything. Why do stars shine? Why do people yell? Why does the heart hurt in places no one can see? His father never answered those questions. He came home loud, not the joyful kind of loud, but the kind that makes a child freeze. The kind that teaches you to measure a man by the sound of his footsteps. His mother didn't answer either. She just disappeared into silence, the quiet kind that wraps around a child like a cold blanket. So Ben learned early. Love is unpredictable, home is unsafe, and emotions are landmines. He memorized the creaks in the floorboards. He rehearsed his facial expressions like an actor. And at the dinner table, he stopped being a child. He became a shield. But here's the thing people don't tell you. Trauma doesn't just come from what happened. Sometimes it comes from what should have happened but never did. No one ever said, "Hey, something's wrong here." No one protected him. No one saw him. And that is a deeper wound than any bruise. Because the mind can survive pain, but it can't survive the feeling that the pain doesn't matter. As Ben grew older, something inside him split. He created a version of himself that the world could applaud. Charming, funny, adaptable. A shapeshifter. But while everyone saw the performance, only he felt the emptiness. The quiet rooms inside him, where emotion used to live. You can't see unprocessed trauma in a mirror. But you can feel it. In the insomnia. In the fear of being truly seen. In the way relationships feel like tests you're destined to fail. He pushed people away, then begged them to come back. He loved deeply, but always from a distance, terrified they'd see the parts he hid from himself. People called him dramatic, sensitive, cold, paranoid. They didn't know he was fighting a war inside a body that looked calm. He tried therapy once. Sat in the chair and said, "I don't feel anything anymore." They gave him labels. But labels are bandages. They don't heal wounds buried in childhood. Because when trauma is ignored, it doesn't leave. It waits. It mutates. It becomes the ghost that lives behind your ribs. And someday, that ghost starts talking. For Ben, it started with whispers. Then arguments with himself. Then symbols in places they shouldn't be. He thought the universe was speaking to him. In reality, it was his mind begging him to finally listen to the pain he avoided for years. He wasn't weak. He was exhausted, exhausted from holding the mask for decades. Everyone thinks going crazy is losing control. But the truth, it's losing the strength to pretend you're okay. Madness isn't chaos. It's honesty. It's everything you've swallowed finally rising to the surface. Carl Jung once wrote that the shadow holds the parts of us we cannot face. Eli's shadow wasn't a monster. It was a child. A child screaming, "Please see me, please hear me." And one day Ben listened. He began writing again. Not beautifully. Not poetically. Just honestly. Sometimes he wrote the same sentence 50 times. "I didn't deserve this." And something in him cracked open, not in a destructive way, but in a freeing way. Because healing doesn't start with hope. It starts with truth. Truth spoken through tears. He returned to therapy, but this time he left the mask at the door. He didn't crack jokes. He didn't pretend to be wise. He cried. He raged. He grieved. He grieved the boy he once was, the boy who loved stars, the boy who tiptoed around landmines, the boy the adults never protected. And slowly, painfully, something inside him softened. People think healing is about becoming stronger, but healing is actually about becoming real, allowing yourself to feel everything you were taught to bury. If you've ever felt like you're losing your mind, listen closely. You're not losing yourself. You're meeting the parts of yourself you abandoned to survive. You're not broken. You're buried. And healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you to forget. Start small. Not with goals. Not with motivation. Not with positivity. Start with silence. Not the cold silence of shutting down, but the sacred silence of listening to your own soul. Write, even if it's messy. Walk, even if you have nowhere to go. Cry, even if you do know why. Read the books that don't just teach, but expose. The Body Keeps the Score. Man and His Symbols. Owning Your Own Shadow. These books don't heal you. They reveal you. And somewhere in that revealing, you'll find something you thought you lost forever. Yourself. Because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more people who survived their shadow and came back carrying truth. And maybe, just maybe, that person is you.